Okay, so we had the NFL draft this past weekend, and there's great interest taken in the draft, and quite a bit of analysis, and quite a bit of opinion generated over, which teams took which player in the right position. Did they get value for their picks? You have maneuvering going on, you have trades. The draft is quite a spectacle, and a lot of fans really enjoy sort of that general manager view of the league or the game where you're seeing these teams being built or rebuilt in real time. And it obviously mirrors that idea of fantasy football where you're doing sort of the same thing every year when you build your fantasy team. So it's easy to understand why the draft is so popular. Personally, for me, I don't really get all too excited about that stuff. I don't actually play fantasy football, so I don't really watch the draft pick for pick. I more just sort of follow it, and what I'm really interested in seeing usually is where players that I enjoyed watching play college football, so players that I know from their college football careers, I like to see where they end up in the NFL, what teams they go to, just because that ends up being mildly interesting to me, or where they get drafted in terms of placement. So one story that stuck out to me from this past weekend was the fact that a quarterback that I really liked when he was in college or throughout his college career actually happened to go undrafted in this NFL draft. So meaning no team selected him with any one of their 7 picks, which is pretty notable, at least to me. And the player that I'm talking about is this gentleman named Diego Pavia. And you may have heard of Diego Pavia. He was notably a Heisman finalist this past season, as you can see here in this photo. Oh, maybe you can't because I haven't shown you that yet. Okay, so this is Diego Pavia. And like I said, he was a Heisman finalist alongside Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiah Love, and Julian Sayin. He did not win the Heisman; that went to Fernando Mendoza. But he was a finalist, which is obviously a huge accomplishment. He wasn't taken in this year's NFL draft by any team, not even in like the 7th round, or what I mean. He wasn't even taken late, which to me is really kind of stood out. And I think it's sort of having gone undrafted is sort of setting up what could be one of like the coolest underdog, like rise up from nothing stories that we've like ever seen in sports. And you just need to dig into Pavia's background and his collegiate career just a little bit to see, this guy is sort of the ultimate like pulled myself up by my bootstraps, up from nothing. Everyone doubted me. Everyone told me I was too small type guy, right? And he just proved he's just always overcoming odds, proving everyone wrong. Like that's just his brand. And winning too. Like this guy's an amazing winner. So this was a bit from Pavia in his sit down with Gruden, and it sort of gives you an idea of who Diego is. He's very brash. He's very confident. Some would say cocky. He's got a bit of an attitude, and you can sense it here in just this short bit.
Pavia was the first Heisman finalist to go undrafted since 2014.
I watch you play. I feel like you're. Write it down. Fucking compete, man.
This shit's over with. Like, I'm not looking back.
I want a guy that can fucking play.
Momo, where'd he go?
What's Momo?
Man, fuck you.
You have no fear, do you?
At all. You like that?
Ooh, 85. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Make a note of it. That's the first thing. Write it down. You're gonna make him think you're running.
I'm gonna make him think I'm running.
This is awesome, man. Make sure we have this hand signal. We'll run the fly.
I might go Diego.
Okay, so you can see, he's got a bit of a personality to him. He's like I said, he's confident, a little bit cocky. He's a smooth talker. He's got that smile that's makes him likable, and he's just again he's an against all odds type guy. Okay, so I just want you to understand like a little about this guy's path, his journey up to and through college football, and how he's sort of really had to do it despite having a very unorthodox, unusual path, and really having to prove himself at every level, and just barely getting the opportunities that he got that would lead him to eventually become a Heisman finalist. He was very good in high school, 11-0 in his senior season, threw for 1,500 yards, 14 passing TDs, 9 rushing TDs. So despite having a really good career in New Mexico, a really good high school career, especially senior season at Volcano Vista High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico, he received only a partial college wrestling scholarship offer from Nebraska and opts instead to pursue football at the junior college level. So all he got was a partial wrestling scholarship from Nebraska. That was his only major D1 offer. So he just said, screw that, I'm going to go play college football at the junior college level. So where does he go? He goes to New Mexico Military Institute, junior college, for the 2020-2021 season. So he was a freshman in 2020, presumably didn't play, sat the bench. 2021 season leads New Mexico Military to the junior college national championship. 21 TDs and only 1 interception in the title season. Championship game, threw for 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing. Okay, so this guy, led them to a national title at this junior college New Mexico Military Institute. So parlays that into an offer with the New Mexico State Aggies, New Mexico State University Aggies, which is a Division I program. I'm not sure exactly which conference they're in. Out there in one of those Western conferences. Maybe it's the Mountain West. I'm not sure. Conference USA. So, 2022 season with the New Mexico State Aggies embarks on a breakout year. One of the marquee games is a 24.5 underdog win over Liberty on November 26, where he throws for 214 yards and 3 TDs and rushes for 125 yards and 3 more TDs. So absolutely torched Liberty University. Finishes that season with 1,500 yards, 13 passing TDs, only 6 interceptions, 500 rushing yards, and 6 rushing TDs, earning all independent first-team honors. So, 2023 season led New Mexico State University to 10 wins for the first time since 1960. So, took a program that had not had 10 wins since 1960 and did that for the first time since then. Named Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year. So, those 2 seasons at New Mexico State he was able to parlay into an offer from Vanderbilt. So he transfers to Vanderbilt in 2024, and this is where he really came on the scene in Division I major college football, where you started to sort of hear about him in mainstream college football chatter. So 2024 was his first season with Vanderbilt, and what he did with Vanderbilt over his 2 seasons is really, I think, the most notable aspect of his sort of just up from nothing underdog story, where everywhere he goes, he sort of just turns them into a winner. And anyone that knows Vanderbilt or has heard of Vanderbilt football or knows anything about college football, I guess I should say, knows that Vanderbilt was literally before Diego Pavia. They were literally probably the biggest doormat. I have their records here. They were probably the biggest doormat in the history of major college football. They were the most laughable program going back so far. I mean, it's actually incredible how bad they are. So let's just go back to 1975. Okay, so they had a 7-4 season in 1975. 76 2-9, 77 2-9, 78 2-9, 79 1-10, 80 2-9, 81 4-7, 82. Oh my God, they had an 8-4 year, then back to 2-9 in 83. I mean, it's just so bad. 89 and 90 seasons, 1989 and 1990, 1-10, 1-10. 1995, 1996, 2-9, 2-9, and it doesn't look any prettier on the in-between. I mean, 2002, 2003, 2-10, 2-10. 2009, 2010, 2-10, 2-10. So this is over decades. They are just consistently bad. I mean, as recently as 2021, they were 2-10. 2023, they were 2-10. As recently as 2023, they were 2-10. Pavia gets there in 2024, leads them to a 7-6 season, their best season in, since 2013. So their best season in a decade he leads them to. And then this past season leads them to a 10-3 record. That was their first 10-win season, like, on this entire chart. It's crazy. Literally, I think that might have been their first 10-win season ever. Yeah. So he led them to their first 10-win season in the history of the program. It's amazing. It's incredible. And in 2024, when he really announced himself onto the scene in major college football was when he pulled off this incredible upset of the University of Alabama. Obviously, anyone that follows college football knows Alabama is basically the New York Yankees. They always win. Obviously the last couple of years they haven't been as good since Nick Saban retired, but if you know anything about their history, they're like basically the evil empire, just like impossible to beat, and wins way too often. And you can even see here in this clip, this was 2024, they're 4-0. Vanderbilt started 2-2. But Diego Pavia was able to pull off an upset against them, and it's the first time Vanderbilt beat Alabama in like 100 years or something. And it's the first victory over a number 1 ranked program, like AP ranked number 1. It's the first time Vanderbilt was able to beat the number 1 ranked program in the country in the entire history of their program. So it's the Vanderbilt's first time ever beating a number 1 ranked team. And Pavia was the one that was able to pull it off.
Pavia keeps it. Pavia picks up the first down, and the unlikeliest of heroes has guided Vanderbilt to what will be its first ever win against number 1. The biggest win on the West End. Vanderbilt takes down number 1 Alabama. Diego Pavia very nearly went into the stands to celebrate with his brothers, but instead they've come onto the field with him. And the rest of the students will do the same. Somewhere in that maelstrom is Alyssa Lay.
I remember watching this game. It was just unbelievable. And as you can imagine, the city of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, completely melted down for like a month afterwards. It was like the most embarrassing thing for Alabama fans having lost to Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt is literally like Alabama. They don't like losing to like LSU. They don't like losing to, a really good team, a Florida, a Georgia. They get mad about that. Vanderbilt is a team you are never, ever, ever supposed to lose to in the SEC. They are the doormat of the SEC, as I showed you with their record. So for him to do this, it was unthinkable. It was the most surprising thing. It was the most surprising win that I've seen in the last, maybe ever. And that's hard to say just because you can't think of all the surprising wins you've seen right off the top of your head. But this was up there for sure. It was totally unthinkable that Vanderbilt could pull this off, but he did it. They go 7-6, so not an amazing season, but they were able to pull off that notable upset victory over Alabama. And then they came into this season again with Diego Pavia as a starter in his final year of college, and he was able to lead them to a 10-win season, their first 10-win season in I'm pretty sure the history of the program. Finished the year with over 4,400 passing yards, accounting for over 70% of the team's total offense. So he was carrying Vanderbilt this past season to a 10-3 record in the SEC. So he also got SEC Offensive Player of the Year, Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, and the Sporting News College Football Player of the Year, which I don't know if that really means anything. And then also, obviously, he was a Heisman finalist, as we had mentioned. So, why, you might be thinking, wouldn't a team have drafted this player that had such an illustrious career, was able to defeat Alabama, pull Vanderbilt up from, the gutters of the SEC to a totally respectable program that has hope for the future. He was able to do this basically all on his own. Why, then, how is it possible that he went undrafted? Let's try to figure it out here. Let's listen to what some of the opinionists have to say about why he didn't get drafted.
News on today's live: Diego Pavia obviously went undrafted, and then he went unsigned.
Yeah,
he has accepted a invitation to the Ravens rookie minicamp.
We talked for a few seconds right before the show. One, I'm a little surprised that the public is so shocked.
Same.
And I think it's public, the people that really don't pay attention to football and the regular that have just jumped into this and going, wait, I saw the Heisman. That was one of the last few times I tuned into college football, and he was there. Wait, he's not getting drafted? But undersized, not as good an athlete as people think, right? When he has to play in the pocket, the throwing's underwhelming. He really, when the competition got better, he did not get better. He got worse. So between that and then when teams look at that and go, whoa, he's really small, he's not that really fast, he plays below average from the pocket. Oh, and he makes a lot of headlines for the wrong reasons. He's going to be our third string or our practice squad quarterback.
I think that killed him.
No team in football wants that. That's the end of it. The end of it. Oh, yeah, come in practice squad and, say a few crazy things in the locker room, and we all got to talk about that when you're on the practice squad. Nobody wants that at the quarterback position, and that's why he's still sitting there.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
You always say this. You can't be the third-string quarterback and be one of the – I don't want to say biggest personality because that sounds wrong, but one of the – like a borderline distraction.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you might be wondering what they're talking about in terms of being like an off-field distraction. And so this gets into some of the funny things about Diego Pavia, which is some of his off-field issues / character issues that contribute or are contributing, at least perceivably, to him not having been drafted. And so one of those character issues was after the Heisman ceremony. One of these character issues, I guess you could call them, was after the Heisman ceremony when he did not get selected for to win the Heisman Trophy. It went to Fernando Mendoza. He went on his Instagram and sort of started posted a few different things that were something like this, which this is a picture of him with all his friends. It's kind of funny. He's like the shortest one. And it says, F all the voters, but family for life. So presumably he's talking about the Heisman voters. And yeah, it says F all the voters, but family for life. And then there was another one. I think it was like later on he was partying in the club or something. And there was a picture of him with a sign up that said F Indiana. So people, there was a lot of pearl clutching that went on over this, and a lot of the mainstream sports media really took offense to this. I don't know why. Who really cares? It's just he's just probably inebriated when he made these posts anyways, and also just what's the big deal? It's not like he's being all that offensive, but I don't know, just the puritanical pearl clutchers in sports media decided that this was a major character red flag for Diego Pavia. And I think that really, those opinionists making that message loud and clear on national outlets, such as like Paul Feinbaum was one. I remember Dan Orlovsky on Get Up was saying it. I think that really did hurt his draft stock, just them saying those things out loud, because they, a lot of these people on these shows, they help shape the public narrative, and people that can't really form deep opinions for themselves, they just take the opinion of the guy they saw on TV. So when over the next few days he was getting completely blasted for this, I think it really, really hurt his draft stock. It almost felt coordinated in a way. It's very weird. But so, these and then also there was this other hilarious story. This was the other one that happened that when he was at New Mexico State University. They were getting ready to play their rival, University of New Mexico, and he was the quarterback, obviously. And he was accused of urinating on rival New Mexico's logo in the center of their field, apparently. And indeed, there appears to be photos of it. So there's him right there, turned around, smiling. I mean, this is just... Yeah, so there he is on the logo. Yeah. So anyways, that was another one that obviously, you know, when teams start to look into his background, this is going to come up, and they're going to use it as a reason why he's got low character and why, you know, they shouldn't take him, or, you know, just to depress his value for one reason or the other. So that's another little part of it. But then I do think it's worth mentioning you get the same old garb that teams will give for not drafting a guy like Diego, which is, let's see here, what are the sort of the... Okay, so despite being a Heisman finalist and one of the most decorated winners in recent college history, Pavia goes undrafted in the 2026 NFL Draft. NFL teams reportedly passed largely due to worries about his age, physical measurable tools, and poor judgment off the field, including the lawsuit's optics and the profane confrontational behavior after the Heisman ceremony. Okay, so let's just dig into this a little bit. And this is why I think it's just NFL teams and NFL GMs, they have no clue how to pick quarterbacks. And that is indeed backed up by the data. And so I just cross-checked this with AI. I sort of had AI dig into it for me to establish you know, do NFL GMs suck at picking quarterbacks? And so I had the AI go in and assess all the NFL. And by the way, this is perplexity.ai. That's how I'm getting this information. And so I had Perplexity go in and analyze, you know, look at all the quarterbacks that have been drafted, look at their draft slot, and then assess whether that pick is a success or failure, you know, relative to where they were drafted and how much success they had, meaning how consistently were they able to start for the team that they were drafted by, and then what was their success rate in those games, and then how did they contribute to that success? Were their passing numbers good? So I had the AI sort of assess it based on those parameters, and the gist of what it says is here. It does not appear that the NFL general managers possess a reliable, consistent method for drafting successful quarterbacks. The decision-making process is frequently influenced by desperation. Teams often reach for quarterbacks in the top 10 because they are desperate to address a position, even if the talent pool is not truly elite. Translational uncertainty. Traits that succeed in college, such as rushing ability or special offensive systems, often fail to evolve into the pocket passing proficiency required at the NFL level. High failure rates. History shows that even high pedigree quarterbacks have a failure rate that approaches or exceeds 60%, suggesting that GMs are effectively making high stakes, low probability bets rather than executing a predictable process. Okay, so what that means is essentially is that whatever the NFL GMs think is what you need in a quarterback, it's all just hooey. None of them actually know. It's essentially just a big gamble, right? There are obviously, you know, you obviously have a selection pool, meaning guys that meet a minimum talent requirement and have shown that in college football or whatever. But then once you get to that pool, it's very hard to discern who amongst those guys is actually going to be any good or going to translate to NFL success. And so a lot of times what you'll get is crap like this that you're getting that's being foisted on Diego Pavia, which is stuff like worries about his age, physical measurable tools, and poor judgment off the field. And it's just okay, this is literally just, you guys are just nervous about taking a short guy, so you're making up all this bullshit, right? Or you're nervous about taking a guy that had an Instagram post that was a little bit edgy, so you're just making up all this bullshit and you're just going to take the safe bet. Probably because you're so traumatized from all the other shit picks that you've made, because this is actually so freaking hard to do. But let's just break this down. Worries about his age, meaning the fact that he's already 24. Well, how would that matter at all, what his age is? Being 20. I mean, I can understand if someone's 36, you're a little worried about their age. But even then, We're seeing Aaron Rodgers play at the age of 40 last year. We saw Tom Brady play till he was 45. We're seeing Matt Stafford go into this next season at an elite level. Did he not just win an MVP, or he's playing at close to an MVP level? He's 39. He's going to be 39 this year, 40 this year maybe. I don't know his exact age. So even if Pavia is 24 right now, if he's any good and he can stay healthy, which is always going to be a gamble with anyone, but he still has 15 years in front of him at the quarterback, at least, considering he's a quarterback. Now, if he were a D end or a running back or one of these guys that's just smashing into traffic for a living, probably not. You'd probably be a little more concerned about it. But, given that quarterbacks, as is seen in the evidence, tend to have long careers or can play at an old age. Even the backups, Kirk Cousins, look at all these guys that just exist as backups late into their 30s. So the idea that his age would in any way affect his draft stock, like, the other thing too is, so his age, so he's basically if he's 24, if he's a little bit older, he's closer to a point of maturity or a point in his life where he's going to be like truly become an adult and truly say, okay, I'm putting the immature stuff behind me, like officially or like for good. Whereas like if you get like an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, they're farther away from that. So you may have more years where you have to sort of baby them to that point where they really become a professional. Whereas Diego Pavia, even though he's shown you has some character issues, he is at an age where you can expect, within the next 1 or 2 years, he's going to start to get pretty serious about this shit, especially if he has this wake-up call of like the backlash after the Heisman thing, not getting drafted. So I just think the age thing is a bunch of hooey. What does it really matter? Like 2 years, give or take. Most players are getting drafted around age 20 to 23. He's 24, and that's a factor. Like, that's the dumbest thing ever. I mean, that's why you guys suck at drafting, because you're considering things like that. Physical measurable tools. Well, he had the physical measurable tools to put up 10,000 yards in college, 3,000 rushing yards, and 120 touchdowns. Okay? So basically what you're saying is, again, you're saying because he's short and not necessarily the greatest athlete, that's a reason not to draft him? Well, what a dumb reason not to draft someone. Because he's short? Okay, well, have you ever heard of Baker Mayfield? Have you ever heard of Russell Wilson? Have you ever heard of Drew Brees? Have you ever heard of Bryce Young? Have you ever heard of, like, I can go on and on and on. There's so many quarterbacks that were a little on the shorter side. Maybe he's a little shorter than even them. I don't know. But I just don't think that there's no height requirement. You can either play or you can't. Like, yes, he's going to have a tougher time seeing over those guys, and he's going to have to figure that out and play a little bit differently. He can see between them. He can see, So if he's good, if he's worth, and which he's proven, if he really wants to learn how, if he's truly committed to being a winner or to having success, which throughout his career, coming up from nothing, playing at East Roast Beef Tech and, Western New Mexico, where the hell he was, and every single place along the way, refusing to give in, refusing to give up, and turning that program into a winner, including at Vanderbilt, then yeah, he's someone that can overcome the odds. He's someone that can overcome something like, oh, I'm a little shorter than the next guy. Obviously. He's been doing it his whole life. So the short thing, I don't buy. I don't buy as a reason not to draft someone that had his career always just too short. That's bullshit. We have a bunch of guys that are short. I mean, Baker Mayfield's a great example. I don't know exactly his height. He's probably a little taller. But Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young, were they not like in a playoff game last year or something? Like, and then also the athletic thing, I think, is just another load of crap. If you have the base athleticism and ability to play at D1, at a D1 level and make it through, 4 years and be a starter, you have the base athleticism necessary to play in the NFL if you commit yourself and if you have the other, skills and tools and luck and, support. But you need look no farther than the greatest player that has ever played the game, Tom Brady. Go look at his measurables. Go look at his draft photo. I'll bring it up for you right now. It's hilariously unathletic. Tom Brady combine photo. Look at this guy. Look at this dude. Oh my God, he looks like a loaf of bread. This is the guy that would go on to become the greatest football player of all time. Imagine what his 40 time was. It was probably like 5 seconds. Look at him now. He's like 10 times more jacked at like 45, whatever it is. But yeah, this dude became the GOAT of football. He's probably running a 5-second 40. Probably can't jump more than 4, 5, 6 inches off the ground. Greatest player of all time. So don't give me this crap about poor measurables. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So really what you're just saying is you just see it. It's a little bit too much of a risk because he posted a photo of himself flipping the bird at the camera. Like, it's so stupid. Oh, and the lawsuit's optics because he sued the NCAA to get more playing time. And the profane confrontational behavior at the Heisman game was so stupid. Like, who are the old, stiff, dusty, white men like making these decisions? Okay, so this is Marcellus Wiley, former NFL player. Excellent sports talk guy. Has his own little show, as you can see here, marcelluswiley.TV. Talks football, and gives his opinions on the different stories in football, and it's excellent. This guy is awesome, and he used to work for ESPN. He's been at Fox. He worked with Max Kellerman at ESPN. He's just everywhere he's been, whatever talk show he's been on, he just has really good opinions. He's got a great style. Highly recommend listening to this guy if you like sports talk. But he gave some opinions on the Pavia situation that I thought were worth hearing.
You know I'm coming back. Let's find a fair number that I could come back for. And so we worked it out. And
Now, are you representing yourself, or do you have an agent?
no, I'm representing myself.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't think it was fair that someone was going to represent me and take 5 to 10%.
Okay. I mean, right now, to the average ear, you're like, what'd he say, Wiley? What he said was he doesn't think it's fair that someone represents him and takes 5 to 10%. That's two different conversations. One, is it fair that someone represents you? I mean, depends on what you want to be represented. Depends on how you want to be represented. I see a lot of the positives being represented versus a few of the negatives. Okay, being real. I've been represented before. I have also not been represented. Things go better when you're represented. Okay, want to know why? Because there is, as always, a go along, get along. So those agents have relationships.
So I think what he's saying here is super important. What he's saying is that one of the real reasons he thinks he didn't get drafted is because he chose to represent himself. Well, all those agents know all the GMs and all the people in the league. They have sway. So it's like if you're this guy that's like on the bubble, maybe not going to be taken in the high rounds, the GMs can effectively scratch the back of the agents who help them in other situations by punishing this player that chose not to give a small percentage of his income or whatever to the agents, right? They have that sway. They have the connections. That's what Marcellus Wiley is explaining.
Those agents can know what's coming down the pipeline. Those agents can know where the cracks and fractures are in the market. The agents know how to place you. The agents know the people at the top making the decisions. That's going to cost you because it costs to be the boss. So if you want to be the one that ain't getting represented, we ain't saying you got hell to pay. We're just saying it ain't going to be as smooth going that way. Okay? But the only thing that can supersede
his amazing ability is like he's able to work rhymes into like so much of his sports talk. It's unbelievable. I wish I had his oratory, I guess is what you'd call it. Yeah, his oration. He's so good at it.
See, not being represented is if you are that dude, if you have that talent, right? If you got that much and we need it, we're going to have to go get it. Ask Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson didn't get represented by anybody but his mama, and he still got the highest contract at the time. So it's not that. That's part one. But the worst part was part two, which lets you know you maybe, I don't know you that well, Diego, Mr. Pavia, but I will say I think you might need some representation because there's not an agent alive that's going to look at a player and ever let 5 to 10% come out of his mouth. One, the max is 3%. Two, if you're drafted higher and the better players, we ain't even paying 3%. That's for the low players. You at the time you made this statement, you didn't know who you were. But I know you were a Heisman finalist, so you ain't even going to pay 3%. You probably play 1%. Then the ignorance continues. You say 5 to 10%. Come on, dog. You went to Vanderbilt. Supposedly, what's that, the Ivy of the South, Harvard of the South? I hate when people do that. Stop faking it. Your ass ain't as smart as them. No, I'm just kidding. You in the Ivy League, okay? Y'all not. Y'all Ivy League adjacent. Call it what you want. Stop calling us that. That's like having a phone and you be like, oh, it's kind of like an iPhone. Is it an iPhone?
Okay, so if I'm correct, Marcellus went to Columbia, which I believe is Ivy League. So he's a bit partial to the Ivies, I would say. I don't know that for sure. I think Columbia is Ivy League, and I'm pretty sure he went to Columbia.
Phone or not. If it ain't an iPhone. It ain't iPhone adjacent. All these schools be wanting to claim, oh, we're the Harvard of the South. No, you're Vanderbilt. And at Vanderbilt, I hope they taught you that, one, agents don't get 5%. Two, if they get 5%, they certainly ain't going to have a range to double that to make it 10%. You don't even know. The point is you don't even know what they get. 5 to 10%. How you going to say, oh, yeah, the car is either 20 or 40,000? I don't know. It ain't double. So you are totally flying blind into the draft, the most important time of your life, because now all of your work has to be professionalized. And this is how professional you come out? Oh, Diego, it gets worse.
Okay, so I thought this was important because I think what Marcellus Wiley is highlighting here is that, like, there wasn't some conspiracy against Diego Pavia to not draft him. There wasn't some collusion, or it's just like a lot of it was self-inflicted, right? The way he's just explained. And I think that's really the main story here, is the self-inflicted part of not having the agent, not being totally prepared, not handling himself correctly leading up to the draft, having those stories come out. It just ends up being a sort of a multitude of unfortunate factors that depresses his value just enough that he just sort of slips through the cracks. So I thought that was, that was a more sort of accurate way to think about it. Where does this leave us? Well, this is the funny one that I've been seeing going around is people have been saying something like what Pat McAfee was saying here in this video, which is basically, and you can just sort of see it in the headline, is Diego Pavia the perfect QB for the UFL? And I briefly even was thinking like, is the NFL like trying to help the UFL by like making sure some of these quarterbacks don't get drafted so they have to go to the UFL so that the UFL actually like gets some decent players? But then I just thought that's just way too complicated and convoluted, and why would the NFL have any interest in helping the UFL? It just makes zero sense. So I don't think that happened, but I just think this is hilarious because, like, bro, no one wants to play in your stupid UFL. Stop trying to do this. XFL, UFL, we have the CFL up in Canada. No one watches it. And it's right there. Like, it's available for, on TV. Like, no one cares. People don't need anything else besides the NFL. I don't understand this thinking that because the NFL is so big that must mean we need to spill it over into like another league or another season. Number one, the NFL already takes up so much of the year. I mean, you obviously have the long season, but then you have the the unwind, and then the prep. Like, you have the draft, you have the preseason. It just ends up being such a chunk of time. You need a little break from football for a little while. That's what keeps it fresh. You need a few months where you don't have football. Then by the end of those few months, you have your summer, you're doing other stuff. You don't want to have to be trapped on your couch during, on Sundays during the summer. We need those few months off from football. Stop trying to spring up these football leagues. I don't understand. How many times do we have to do this? We've had the XFL 3 different times. We've had the UFL now, I feel like, a few different iterations. I mean, I don't understand it, and I'm sure they're probably doing fine, right? Like, this is probably the one that actually makes it, is the UFL. I think they're actually in their second season now. But I just think we just don't need this stuff, and like you could never expect a player to accept that. Like, if I'm Diego Pavia, I want to play in the NFL. Like, and if I do my best and I don't get my chance, or if I do my best and I'm passed over, then, you know, and I've exhausted all my chances in the NFL, maybe at that point you consider it. But I just think it's so stupid to think he's just going to go sign with the UFL team and say, oh, I guess I just didn't make it in the NFL. No, he's going to try to get on a practice squad. He's going to try to get on a team and, you know, be a backup quarterback and just try to work his way in and work his ass off. And, you know, try to make it in the NFL, which how could you blame him? Like, that's every player's dream. It's not to go play for the Birmingham freaking Buccaneers or whatever the hell they're called or whatever the team is. It's so stupid. So, anyways, to sort of wrap this up, hopefully you have a better idea of who Diego Pavia is and sort of his story. I think right now is the time to really hammer in and buy that Diego Pavia stock. I think it's as low as it's going to be, and I think it's just it's unfathomable to me that he doesn't end up as a backup quarterback for, you know, one of these teams and get a shot at some point to start or to show what he can do. So I was happy when I saw today, just a few hours ago, 2:50 p.m. Eastern time, the story was posted to ESPN. Ravens sign undrafted quarterback Diego Pavia before minicamp. So the Ravens have decided to take a chance on Diego Pavia, and they're going to bring him in for minicamp. So he'll be competing with this other guy for probably like a practice squad spot or something. But I think this is what he needed. A little bit of humbling from the draft. And now you go into a minicamp and you work your tail off and you prove that all these teams messed up by passing you over. And, you know, I don't think it's like just think about some of the draft picks over the last 5 years. Anthony Richardson from the Colts, big, tall, athletic guy, just a picture-perfect athlete, right? He can't get on the field. He stinks. J.J. McCarthy last year, 6'4", broad-shouldered, you know, beautiful quarterback build, great arm, played for Michigan, stunk last year for the Minnesota Vikings. And then you have guys like Brock Purdy that were literally drafted. He was Mr. Irrelevant. He was the very last pick in the draft. He's a starting quarterback for the 49ers. So this idea that the NFL GMs have any idea what they're doing, have any business saying things like, oh, he's too small, he's the wrong age, blah, 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 blah. You guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You've proven it year in and year out with stupid picks, total busts, passing over guys that you should have taken way earlier. I mean, that's Tom Brady's story, right? Taken in the 6th round. So, I mean, let's just call it what it is. The NFL GMs don't know jack shit about selecting quarterbacks. And I think Diego Pavia is going to be the next one that they seriously rue having passed over. I think he's going to make them pay.